Do not open that door. The command cut through the storm louder than the emergency alarm. Every face in the resort lobby turned toward Nathan Brooks, the maintenance worker standing beside the steel exit with rainwater dripping from his gray uniform. Derek Sloan stared at him as if Nathan had just forgotten his place. Excuse me. Nathan kept one hand against the door handle. Nobody goes through here. Derek stepped closer. We have 60 people trapped inside a building losing power, and you are blocking the evacuation route. This route is not safe anymore. A nervous laugh escaped one of the executives gathered behind them. Another whispered, "Since when does maintenance run emergency operations?" Derek heard it and smiled. Exactly. Nathan said nothing. He had spent years learning that humiliation only grew when you fed it. So he let the laughter pass over him while thunder rolled beyond the glass walls of Harbor Point Resort. Outside, a coastal storm had turned the Atlantic into a gray wall of wind and rain. Palm-sized sheets of water raced across the windows. The emergency lights flickered above the marble floor. Somewhere downstairs, an alarm began beeping faster. Olivia Grant stood near the center of the lobby, surrounded by members of her executive team. 36 years old, Chief Executive Officer of Grant Maritime Technologies, she was accustomed to entering rooms where people waited for her decision. Tonight, however, every system she trusted seemed to be failing at once. The leadership retreat had been scheduled as 2 days of strategy meetings overlooking the ocean. Now the elevators were offline, cell service was fading, and half the resort had lost power. Derek pointed toward the steel door. That exit leads directly to the covered east walkway. It is the fastest way to the parking structure. Nathan looked toward the narrow window beside it. It was. Derek's jaw tightened. Brooks, open the door. Nathan did not move. No, sir. The lobby went quiet. Olivia turned fully toward him. Derek laughed without humor. You want to lose your job over a door? Nathan's expression remained calm. I would rather lose my job than send people through it. That stopped the whispers. For one brief second, even Derek seemed unsure. Then he shook his head. You fix boilers and replace light bulbs. Stay in your lane. Nathan lowered his eyes. Yes, sir. Derek reached past him for the handle. Nathan caught the movement, but did not touch him. Before you open it, he said quietly, look at the glass. Olivia did. The tall windows along the east corridor were flexing inward with each gust. Not breaking. Not yet. But moving enough to make her stomach tighten. Nathan pointed toward a hanging emergency sign 30 feet beyond the door. It was no longer swinging toward the ocean. It was being pulled toward the building. Olivia frowned. What does that mean? Nathan looked at her. The wind changed direction. Derek scoffed. It is a storm. Wind changes. Nathan nodded. And when it does, that covered walkway becomes a tunnel. Another gust struck the building. The steel door shuddered beneath Nathan's hand. This time nobody laughed. Olivia watched him closely. He was not guessing. He was listening to the building, reading pressure, movement, sound, details everyone else had ignored. Then the lights went out for 2 full seconds. When the emergency glow returned, Nathan was already looking toward the service corridor behind the front desk. There is another way out, he said. Derek stared at him. How do you know it is safer? Nathan met his eyes. Calm. Steady. Almost too steady. Because I checked it before the storm reached us. The service corridor smelled faintly of detergent, salt air, and warm electrical wiring. Nathan led the group away from the lobby without hurrying, even as the storm pressed against the building hard enough to make ceiling panels tremble. Stay together. No running. Keep one hand free. 3 short instructions. No speech. No panic. Olivia followed 10 feet behind him, watching the same man Derek had mocked less than a minute earlier move through the resort, as if every doorway already existed in his head. Nathan had worked at Harbor Point for nearly 4 years. Most guests knew him only when something stopped working. A broken thermostat, a jammed balcony door, a light that flickered during dinner. He arrived, fixed the problem, and disappeared before anyone thought to ask about the man carrying the toolbox. At home, the invisibility continued in a different way. Nathan rented a small 2-bedroom house 8 miles inland, where his 9-year-old daughter Lily covered the refrigerator with drawings and left sneakers in places that tested his patience every morning. He woke before 5, packed her lunch, checked the weather, and made coffee strong enough to survive a double shift. Some weeks, after rent, groceries, and school expenses, there was barely anything left. He never complained in front of Lily. "We rich?" she had asked him once while eating cereal at the kitchen table. Nathan had looked at the $27 in his wallet, then at his daughter. "Depends what we are counting." "Money." "Then no." Lily had laughed. "Love." Nathan smiled. "Embarrassingly wealthy." That was the part of his life nobody at Harbor Point saw. They saw old work boots, a faded pickup truck, a lunch packed in the same dented metal box every day. Derek saw a man beneath him. Nathan saw a job that paid enough to keep Lily safe. He had learned not to confuse pride with dignity. Back in the corridor, Derek pushed through the group toward him. "Where exactly are you taking us?" "West Service Stair. That opens near the lower loading area." "Not anymore." Derek frowned. "What does that mean?" Nathan pointed toward a maintenance door ahead. "Storm protocol sealed the lower section 30 minutes ago. The stair now exits behind the conference wing, 12 feet above grade." Olivia looked at him. "You checked all of this before the power failed?" "I checked every exterior route at 5 this afternoon." Derek gave a dismissive laugh. "Why?" "Nobody told you to." Nathan looked at him. "Weather did." The corridor fell quiet again. A woman near Olivia whispered, "Who is this guy?" Nathan heard her, but kept walking. He did not answer questions people had never cared enough to ask before tonight. The emergency lights shifted from white to amber. Somewhere beneath them, water alarms began sounding from the lower floor. Nathan stopped at a junction and counted quietly. 57 people. He counted again. 57. His face changed. Olivia noticed immediately. "What is it?" Nathan looked back toward the darkened lobby. "We had 60. Derek shook his head. "People probably took another route." Nathan's eyes hardened just slightly. "That is the problem." He turned to the group. "Nobody moves until I know where the other 3 are." Olivia looked around the corridor as if the missing 3 might suddenly appear from behind one of the service doors. "Who are we missing?" Nathan pulled the folded attendance sheet from his pocket. He had taken it from the conference desk before the alarms began, another detail nobody had noticed. 2 members of the catering staff and one of your executives. Derek frowned. "Which executive?" Nathan checked the list. "Michael Turner." Olivia's expression changed. Michael was Grant Maritime Technology's chief financial officer, 62 years old, stubborn enough to finish a conversation even when everyone else had already left the room. "He was in conference room 4, she said. Nathan nodded. "That wing is still above the water line." Derek stepped forward. "Then security can handle it." "Security is helping move people from the west stair. So we keep going." Nathan looked at the 57 people waiting under amber emergency lights. Some were frightened. Some were cold. One elderly board member leaned against the wall, breathing too quickly. Nathan lowered his voice. "We move them first." Olivia watched him kneel beside the older man. "Sir, look at me." The man did. Slow breath in. Slow breath out. "We are almost there." Nothing dramatic. No promises he could not guarantee. Just steadiness. Within seconds, the man's breathing began to settle. Nathan stood and pointed toward the stairwell. "Derek, take the front." Derek stared at him. "You are giving me orders now?" "I am giving you 57 people." Olivia stepped between them. "Do it." Derek looked at her, surprised. "Olivia, get them upstairs." The authority in her voice ended the argument. Nathan handed him the attendance sheet. "Count everyone again at the conference wing. Nobody leaves alone." Derek took it reluctantly. Olivia remained where she was. Nathan noticed. "You are going with them." "No. Miss Grant." "Olivia." She glanced toward the dark corridor behind them. "Michael works for me. The catering staff are here because of my company. I am not walking away while they are missing." Nathan studied her for a moment. Until tonight, Olivia Grant had existed in his world only as a name printed across reservation documents and executive schedules. Wealth, authority, private drivers, people who never worried about grocery bills. But fear had stripped away the polished distance between them. She was frightened, and she was staying anyway. "You follow exactly what I say," Nathan told her. "Agreed. If I tell you to turn back, you turn back." "Agreed." Derek shook his head. "This is insane." Nathan looked toward him. "Then get everyone else somewhere sane." The stairwell door closed behind the group, and suddenly the corridor felt much larger. Nathan checked the small radio clipped to his belt. Static. No reliable signal. He opened a maintenance cabinet and took out 2 flashlights. Olivia accepted one. "You keep emergency equipment everywhere?" I keep equipment where emergencies happen. They started toward the conference wing. The storm sounded different away from the crowd. Deeper. The building creaked with each gust, and rain rattled against distant windows like handfuls of gravel. Olivia watched Nathan check every intersection before crossing it. Left, right, ceiling, doors, then forward. It did not look like fear. It looked like habit. How long have you worked in maintenance? She asked. Almost 4 years here. That was not what I meant. Nathan kept walking. I know. They reached the conference wing. One door stood partly open. Inside, papers were scattered across the carpet, and a laptop glowed on battery power. No, Michael. Nathan touched the abandoned coffee cup on the table. Still slightly warm. Olivia looked at him. He was here recently. Nathan nodded, then noticed a faint trail of water leading toward the rear hallway. His expression changed. He went the wrong way. Olivia followed his gaze toward a sign marked East Terrace. Beyond it, the wind howled against the building. She whispered, "Can we reach him?" Nathan switched on his flashlight. "We are going to find out." Nathan moved toward the East Terrace corridor without rushing. Olivia stayed 2 steps behind, flashlight steady in both hands. The farther they went, the louder the storm became. Wind pressed against the outer walls in long, low bursts, and somewhere ahead, a loose metal sign tapped against glass with an uneven rhythm. Nathan stopped at the first intersection. "Stay here." Olivia frowned. "You said we were going together." "We are. I am checking the floor." He crouched and touched the carpet near the wall. Water had begun creeping beneath the baseboard, no more than half an inch deep, but moving steadily toward them. "Where is it coming from?" Olivia asked. Nathan pointed toward the terrace doors. "Wind-driven rain. Maybe a failed seal." "Is that dangerous?" "Not yet." He stood and looked toward the ceiling. One light flickered, then another. "But it means we do not have much time." They continued. 30 feet ahead, they heard a voice. "Hello." Olivia lifted her flashlight. "Michael." The voice came again, weaker this time. "Olivia." She started forward. Nathan raised one hand. "Wait." She stopped immediately. "Why?" He pointed to the floor. A section of ceiling tile had fallen near the terrace entrance, and water was spreading around an extension cord left from the earlier conference setup. Nathan did not step closer. "We go around." Olivia looked toward Michael's voice. "He is right there. And we still go around." His calm was beginning to make sense to her. Nathan was not slow. He was careful. He never let urgency make the next decision for him. They took a side corridor and found Michael Turner sitting near a service alcove, coat wrapped around his shoulders, visibly shaken but alert. "I thought the east exit would be faster," he said. Nathan knelt beside him. "Can you stand?" "I think so." Olivia reached down to help, but Nathan checked Michael's balance first. "Any dizziness?" "A little." Then we moved slowly. Michael looked at him. "Who are you?" Olivia answered before Nathan could. "The reason we are getting out." Nathan glanced at her, but said nothing. They had barely started back when a voice came through the radio clipped to Nathan's belt. Broken static. Then Derek. "Nathan, answer." Nathan pressed the button. "I am here. We have 57 accounted for at the upper conference wing. But the 2 catering staff never arrived." Nathan closed his eyes for half a second. Olivia saw the calculation happen behind them. Last known location? Lower banquet prep. Nathan looked toward the emergency map on the wall. The banquet prep area was below them, closer to the loading section where water alarms had already started. Derek's voice came again. "Do not go down there. We wait for emergency crews." Nathan looked at Michael, then at Olivia. "Take him to the west stair." Olivia shook her head. "No." "Olivia, you said nobody goes alone. This is different." "Because you are the one going?" Nathan did not answer. Michael leaned against the wall and looked between them. "She has a point." Nathan exhaled quietly. "Fine. You both go to the stair. I check the lower landing from above. If there is standing water beyond the threshold, I turn back." Olivia studied him. "Promise?" "Yes." They moved Michael toward the west stair and handed him to a security employee who had come down to meet them. Nathan turned toward the lower service stairs. Olivia followed. "You really do not know how to let someone help you, do you?" Nathan kept walking. "I know how. You just do not like it." "That too." For the first time, Olivia almost smiled. Then the radio crackled again. A frightened woman's voice broke through the static. "Maintenance, please answer. We are in banquet prep. The door will not open." Nathan stopped. The humor vanished from his face. He raised the radio. "This is Nathan. Stay where you are. Do not force the door. There is water coming under it." Olivia looked at him. Nathan looked toward the stairwell leading down. His voice remained calm, but something in his eyes changed. "I am coming to you." Nathan reached the lower service landing and stopped before opening the fire door. Water shimmered beneath it in a thin line, reflecting the amber emergency light. Olivia stood one step behind him. "You promised you would turn back if there was standing water." "I know. Is that standing water?" Nathan crouched and watched the flow for several seconds. "Less than an inch here. It is moving toward the drain, not against us." Olivia tightened her grip on the flashlight. So we can reach banquet prep if the next corridor is still clear." He opened the door only a few inches and listened. No rushing water. No electrical buzzing. Just the storm, distant alarms, and the frightened voices crackling through his radio. "Nathan," the woman called again. "We are still here." "I know. Keep talking to me." He opened the door fully. The lower corridor was dim and wet, but passable. Nathan stepped carefully, checking each section before waving Olivia forward. "Stay close to the wall." "Why?" "Better footing." "Anything else?" "Do not touch metal doors until I do." Olivia nodded. 3 instructions. Simple. Clear. The panic in her chest eased because Nathan never gave fear more room than it deserved. They reached banquet prep 2 minutes later. The 2 catering employees were trapped behind a swollen service door that had jammed in its frame. Nathan examined the hinges, then the floor, then the manual release plate beside the door. "Can you get them out?" Olivia asked. "Yes." No hesitation. He removed a small tool from his belt and worked the release mechanism while speaking through the door. "Step back about 6 feet. We are back." "Good. Stay there." Olivia watched his hands. Steady. Efficient. No wasted movement. The lock released with a hard click, but the door remained stuck. Nathan leaned his shoulder against it gently, testing resistance rather than forcing it. "Frame shifted," he said. Olivia looked toward the rising water near the far drain. "Can we still open it?" Nathan handed her his flashlight. "Hold this here." She did. He adjusted the lower hinge plate, then tried again. The door moved half an inch. Then another. Finally, enough space opened for the first employee to squeeze through. She stepped into the corridor shaking. Olivia took her hand immediately. "You are safe. Stay with me." The second woman followed moments later, clutching a small catering radio to her chest. Nathan checked both of them quickly. "Any injuries?" They shook their heads. "Good. We go upstairs now." One woman stared at him. "You came back for us?" Nathan looked toward the stairwell. "Of course." They started moving. Halfway to the landing, the building lights flickered and went completely dark. Olivia froze. "Nathan, right here." His voice came from directly ahead. A second later, his flashlight clicked on. He pointed it toward the floor instead of their faces. "Everybody put one hand on the wall. Olivia, stay behind me. The 2 of you stay behind her." They moved slowly through the darkness. Nathan counted every turn aloud. 1 corner. 15 steps. Another door. 12 more. His voice never changed. When they finally reached the upper landing, Derek was waiting with 2 security employees. "You found them?" Nathan nodded. "Everyone accounted for now." Derek checked the sheet. 60. "Yes." Relief moved through the group, like warm air. Olivia looked at Nathan. His uniform was soaked below the knees, his hands dirty from the jammed door, his face tired but calm. "You saved every person in this building," she said. Nathan shook his head. "A lot of people helped." Derek stepped forward quickly. "We followed emergency procedure. That is what matters." Olivia looked at him. "You wanted to send everyone through the east walkway." Derek's face tightened. "Based on the information available." Nathan did not argue. He was already checking the head count again. 60. Then 60 again. Olivia watched him and felt something change inside her. She had spent years around powerful men who made sure everyone noticed when they entered a room. Nathan seemed determined to disappear the moment his work was done. Then flashing lights appeared through the upper windows. Coast Guard and county emergency crews were arriving through the protected western access road. One uniformed officer entered the conference wing, scanned the crowd, and stopped when he saw Nathan. The officer's expression shifted from professional focus to disbelief. He stared for several seconds before saying quietly, "Chief Brooks?" Nathan did not answer immediately. The Coast Guard officer stepped farther into the conference wing, rain still shining across the shoulders of his uniform. Nathan Brooks. Nathan lowered his flashlight. It has been a while, Commander. Olivia looked from one man to the other. Around them, the 60 people Nathan had just helped evacuate were being checked by emergency personnel, yet the room seemed to grow strangely quiet. The officer shook his head in disbelief. I thought you left the coast years ago. I did. Derek frowned. You know our maintenance worker? The officer turned toward him. Maintenance worker? Nathan closed his eyes briefly, already knowing where the conversation was going. Commander, there is no need. But the man studied Nathan's soaked uniform, then the frightened employees behind him. You organized this evacuation? Nathan answered carefully. Everyone helped. Olivia almost smiled. Of course that was his answer. The officer looked toward the east side of the resort, where emergency crews were now securing the damaged exterior walkway. Someone kept those people from using the east exit? Nathan did, Olivia said. Derek shifted uncomfortably. The officer nodded slowly. That sounds like him. Olivia stepped closer. What does that mean? Nathan looked at her. It means he remembers me from another job. The officer gave a quiet laugh. That is one way to put it. Derek folded his arms. What job? Nathan remained silent. The officer looked at him again, giving him a chance to stop the answer. Nathan only said, keep it simple. The officer nodded. Nathan Brooks served in Naval Special Warfare. Navy SEAL. Nobody spoke. The words seemed almost too large for the man standing there in a soaked gray maintenance shirt with a tool belt at his waist. Olivia stared at Nathan. Suddenly the details she had been collecting all night rearranged themselves. The way he checked every doorway before crossing. The way he counted people twice. The calm instructions. The refusal to let urgency become panic. The instinct to move others first. Derek gave a skeptical laugh, but there was no confidence behind it. You expect us to believe that? The officer looked at him. I do not need you to believe it. Nathan stepped in before the moment could become something he did not want. My past did not get anyone out tonight. Olivia looked at him. It helped. Nathan shook his head. Knowing this building helped. The staff helped. Security helped. You helped. You went back for people everyone else had already lost track of, because they were still inside. To Nathan, that seemed to settle the matter. Olivia realized that was what separated him from nearly every powerful person she knew. He did not measure decisions by who would notice them afterward. The Coast Guard officer extended his hand. Nathan hesitated, then shook it. Good to see you, Chief. Nathan is fine. Still doing that. Doing what? Pretending rank never mattered. Nathan gave the faintest smile. It mattered when I wore it. Olivia heard the sentence and understood more than he intended. He had not been hiding because he was ashamed. He had simply decided that yesterday's rank did not give him the right to demand today's respect. Lily's name suddenly appeared on the screen of Nathan's phone. He answered immediately. Hey, sweetheart. Her small voice came through clearly enough for Olivia to hear the worry. Dad, the Weather Channel says Harbor Point flooded. Nathan turned slightly away from the crowd. I am okay. Promise. Promise. Did you eat dinner? Nathan looked down at himself, soaked and exhausted. Not yet. Lily sighed with the seriousness only a 9-year-old could manage. You tell me I cannot skip dinner. That is true. Then you are breaking your own rule. Nathan smiled. I will fix it. Olivia watched him speak to his daughter, and the Navy SEAL disappeared again. There was only a tired single father assuring a little girl that he would come home. When the call ended, Olivia said softly, She worries about you. I am all she has. And she is all you have. Nathan looked toward the rain-streaked windows. She is enough. Behind them, an emergency coordinator announced that every guest and employee had been accounted for. 60 people. Safe. Olivia turned toward Nathan. You saved everyone. Nathan shook his head again. No. She waited. His eyes moved across the room, toward catering workers, security staff, executives, and the strangers who had finally stopped seeing him as invisible. We got everyone out. And somehow, that answer told Olivia more about the man than the words Navy SEAL ever could. The storm had weakened by midnight, but Harbor Point Resort still carried the feeling of a place that had survived something larger than itself. Emergency crews moved quietly through the conference wing. Wet footprints marked the tile. Blankets covered tired shoulders. Coffee appeared in paper cups from somewhere, and nobody complained that it was cold. Nathan stood near a service wall with his tool belt still on, answering questions from the emergency coordinator as if nothing unusual had happened. Olivia watched from across the room. People were looking at him differently now. The same executives who had barely noticed him that afternoon were waiting for him to speak. The same employees who had laughed when Derek dismissed him were repeating his instructions to one another. Nathan seemed uncomfortable with all of it. Derek was not. He moved through the room telling anyone who would listen about resort procedures, emergency preparation, and coordinated response. "We had protocols in place," he said to one board member. "My team executed them." Olivia heard the words and felt something inside her harden. She walked toward him. "Your team?" Derek turned. "Of course. Nathan is part of resort operations. You told him to open the east exit." Derek's expression tightened. "Based on the information available at the time. He told you it was unsafe. And afterward we adapted." Olivia stared at him. "You did not adapt. He stopped you." The board member beside them went quiet. Derek lowered his voice. "Olivia, this is not the moment to assign blame. No, it is the moment to tell the truth." Across the room, Nathan looked over but did not approach. Olivia noticed that too. He was not waiting for justice. He was not hoping Derek would be embarrassed. He was simply letting her decide what kind of leader she wanted to be. Derek exhaled. "You are letting one dramatic evening influence your judgment." Olivia looked toward the east windows, where emergency crews had closed off the damaged walkway. If Nathan had not challenged you, 60 people would have been sent toward the wrong exit. "That is speculation." A Coast Guard officer passing nearby stopped. "No, sir." Derek turned. The officer continued calmly. "Our initial inspection shows the east walkway became unsafe during the peak wind shift. Keeping people inside until an alternate route was confirmed was the correct decision." The silence around Derek grew heavier. He looked at Nathan. "You could have explained yourself better." Nathan finally walked over. "I tried. You gave orders. I gave warnings. You undermined me in front of guests." Nathan's face remained still. People were scared. "I was not thinking about your authority." Derek stared at him. "That is exactly the problem." Olivia answered before Nathan could. "No, that is exactly why everyone is safe." Derek looked at her and realized the room was no longer his. He walked away without another word. Nathan watched him go. Olivia expected satisfaction. There was none. "You are not angry?" she asked. "I was." Past tense. Anger is useful for about 30 seconds. After that, it usually starts making decisions. Olivia studied him. "You always talk like that." "Only when I am tired." She smiled faintly. Then she noticed him looking toward the resort entrance. "Lily, my neighbor is bringing her once the road opens. You want to leave?" "Yes." "After everything tonight?" Nathan looked at her. "Especially after everything tonight." Olivia understood. The rescue mattered. The recognition mattered. The old rank had surprised everyone. But none of it mattered to Nathan as much as being home when his daughter woke up. A few minutes later, a volunteer handed him a dry jacket. Nathan gave it to one of the catering employees instead. She looked at him with wet eyes. "You already came back for us. You do not have to keep helping." Nathan shrugged. "You are cold." That simple answer followed Olivia as she walked beside him toward the lobby. They stopped near the steel east exit where the night had begun. The door remained locked. Wind still whispered beyond it. Olivia touched the handle, then looked at Nathan. "I was going to let Derek open this." Nathan nodded. "You did not know." "You did. Because it is my job to know this building. And the rest." Nathan glanced at her. "What rest?" "The calm. The counting. The way you knew what fear would do before it did it." Nathan was quiet for a moment. "That came from somewhere else." Olivia did not ask him to explain. "Not yet." Instead, she said, "Tomorrow, people are going to call you a hero." Nathan looked toward the dark windows. "Tomorrow, I am taking Lily to school." Olivia smiled. "That too." Then the lobby doors opened, and a little girl in a yellow raincoat ran inside. "Dad." Nathan turned, and every trace of the man who had commanded 60 frightened people disappeared. He dropped to one knee and opened his arms. Lily reached him at full speed. "You promised you were okay." "I am." "You look terrible." Nathan laughed softly. "Good to see you too." Olivia stood a few feet away and watched Lily hold on to him as if rank, money, and reputation had never existed. In that moment, she understood something Derek never had. Nathan Brooks had not saved everyone because he needed people to know who he used to be. He had saved them because that was still who he was. By the following afternoon, the storm had moved north, leaving Harbor Point under a washed blue sky that almost made the night before feel impossible. Nathan had slept less than 3 hours. Lily still insisted on going to school, so he made pancakes, found her missing homework beneath the couch, and drove her across town in his faded pickup like any other Tuesday. At 9:30, he returned to the resort wearing a clean gray work shirt and carrying the same dented lunchbox. The front desk fell quiet when he walked through the lobby. Nathan stopped. Morning. Nobody answered at first. Then one of the catering employees he had helped the night before stood and smiled. Morning, Nathan. Someone else thanked him. Then another. Nathan lowered his eyes and headed toward the maintenance office before the attention could become something larger. Olivia was waiting there. She looked different without the formal retreat schedule surrounding her. Dark slacks, a simple blouse, hair pulled back, no board members following behind. Nathan stopped in the doorway. Something broken? Olivia smiled. Possibly your ability to accept gratitude. That is not covered by maintenance. She held out a folder. Grant Maritime Technologies has a coastal operations division. We oversee facilities, vessels, emergency planning, and several thousand employees. Nathan looked at the folder but did not take it. You are offering me a job. Director of Operational Safety. No. Olivia blinked. You did not even look at the salary. That is why I said no first. Nathan, it would change your life. He leaned his tool bag against the wall. My life is not the part one I'm trying to escape. Olivia went quiet. He looked toward the small photograph taped beside his locker. Lily in a school soccer jersey, missing one front tooth, laughing at something outside the frame. This job lets me pick her up most afternoons. I know my schedule. I know where I am sleeping at night. Olivia lowered the folder. The Navy cost you that. Nathan did not answer immediately. The Navy gave me a lot. It also taught me what time costs. Olivia understood the boundary and did not push. Then tell me what you would accept. Nathan looked at her. Why does it matter? Because last night 60 people trusted you before they knew anything about your past. I watched executives with titles freeze while you noticed the things everyone else ignored. Nathan shook his head. Fear makes people miss details. You did not. I have had practice. Olivia stepped closer to the maintenance desk. That is exactly my point. Before Nathan could respond, Derek entered. He looked tired, his confidence worn thin around the edges. Olivia, I need a word. You can say it here. Derek glanced at Nathan. Privately. No. The answer was immediate. Derek drew a breath. Corporate reviewed the emergency report. They are placing me on administrative leave. Nathan's expression remained neutral. Derek looked directly at him. I assume you are satisfied. No. You embarrassed me in front of my staff. Nathan's eyes stayed steady. The storm did not care about either of us. Derek gave a bitter laugh. Easy for you to say now that everyone knows you were some kind of decorated operator. That has nothing to do with your decision. It changes how people see you. Nathan nodded slowly. Maybe. It should not. Derek frowned. Nathan continued. You should have listened when I was just maintenance. The words landed without anger. That made them impossible to dismiss. Olivia watched Derek's face change. Shame replaced defensiveness for only a second, but it was enough. He looked away. I was wrong about the east exit. Nathan said nothing. Derek swallowed. And I was wrong about you. Nathan picked up his tool bag. Those are two different lessons. Derek looked at him again, then nodded once and left. Olivia remained silent until the door closed. You could have destroyed him. Nathan looked genuinely puzzled. Why would I want to? After the way he treated you? Nathan shrugged. Respect is not revenge. Olivia stared at him for a long moment. Then she opened the folder, removed the job offer, and tore it in half. Nathan raised an eyebrow. That was dramatic. I am a chief executive officer. We have habits. She took out a blank sheet instead. Consulting role. Emergency planning. Your hours. No travel unless you agree. You still pick Lily up from school. Nathan looked at the page. For the first time, he did not say no. Olivia smiled faintly. Is that progress? Nathan picked up the pen. It is a conversation. 3 months later, Harbor Point looked nothing like the place Olivia remembered from the storm. The damaged east walkway had been rebuilt, new emergency routes were marked clearly, and every employee from housekeeping to management had been included in safety training. Nathan had accepted Olivia's consulting offer on one condition. His schedule ended early enough to pick Lily up from school. Olivia had agreed before he finished the sentence. On a bright Friday afternoon, Nathan stood near the resort conference room reviewing evacuation maps while Lily sat at a nearby table doing homework. Dad, Nathan looked over. Yes. You said we were leaving at 4. He checked his watch. 3:58. We are. Olivia walked into the room carrying 2 coffees and 1 hot chocolate. I brought a peace offering. Lily inspected the cup. Marshmallows. Extra. Lily nodded approvingly. You can stay. Nathan looked at Olivia. Apparently you passed the interview. Olivia smiled and handed him a coffee. She had changed too. She still ran Grant Maritime Technologies with the same sharp mind and impossible schedule, but she listened differently now. During safety meetings, she asked maintenance workers what they noticed. She asked drivers what routes failed in bad weather. She asked receptionists which guests ignored instructions. People who had once been invisible were suddenly part of the conversation. Nathan had taught her that leadership was not always about knowing more. Sometimes it was about knowing who to hear. Corporate approved the new coastal emergency plan, Olivia said. Nathan nodded. Good. They want you to present it at the National Leadership Conference next month. No. Olivia laughed. You did not even pretend to think about it. I have Lily's school science fair. Lily looked up from her homework. It is a volcano. Olivia raised an eyebrow. An actual volcano? Baking soda. Nathan lowered his voice. We are still negotiating the definition of actual. Lily grinned. Olivia shook her head. Fine. We will move the presentation. Nathan looked at her. You would move a national conference for a science fair? No. I would move your session. That is still ridiculous. You taught me priorities. He smiled faintly. Outside the windows, the Atlantic was calm, sunlight moving across the water where the storm had once turned everything gray. For a moment, none of them spoke. Then Olivia asked the question she had carried for months. Do you miss it? Nathan knew what she meant. The Navy? She nodded. He looked toward Lily. Parts of it. The purpose. Sometimes. The respect. Nathan almost laughed. Respect was never the part that stayed with me. Olivia waited. What stayed? Nathan looked down at his hands. The people. Knowing somebody depended on you. Knowing you depended on them. Olivia considered that. Is that why you went back for those employees? Nathan shook his head. They needed help. That's simple. Usually. She smiled. You make complicated things sound simple. People make simple things complicated. Lily closed her notebook. 4 o'clock. Nathan checked his watch. Exactly 4. He gathered his papers. Olivia watched him pack his bag without hesitation. A larger office, more money, national recognition. None of it could compete with a 9-year-old waiting to go home. Nathan. He turned. Thank you. For the emergency plan? For the storm. He looked uncomfortable immediately. Olivia. Let me finish. She stepped closer, her voice softer. You did not know who I was when you challenged Derek. You did not know whether helping me would cost you your job. You did not know anyone would ever learn about your past. You just did what was right. Nathan was quiet. That should not be unusual. Maybe not, but it is. Lily slipped her hand into her father's. Nathan looked down at her, then back at Olivia. The important part is everyone went home. Olivia nodded. Including you. Especially me. They walked toward the lobby together. Employees greeted Nathan by name now, but he still stopped to adjust a loose door closer before leaving. Olivia watched him make the small repair, then shake his head when Lily reminded him they were officially off the clock. He had once been a Navy SEAL. He had once carried a rank that made trained men listen when he spoke. But none of that was why Olivia respected him. She respected the poor single father who had been mocked, dismissed, and ordered to stay in his place, yet still chose to protect the very people who had overlooked him. Nathan never demanded that the world recognize his strength. He simply used it when someone needed him. And in the quiet life he returned to every afternoon, beside a daughter who cared more about marshmallows and science fairs than medals, he had found something greater than rank. He had found grace, dignity, and a second chance to come home.